gamers, gals, non-binary pals. It's your boy Stevie, and today we're gonna do the greatest thing ever, and it's called React content. Ooh, low-effort content in order to satiate your little hardwired minds into watching things of such nature. Anyways, we have a Zero2 video, which is a guy I've never had beef with before. Most YouTube advice is bad. Advice tier list. Now, I won't say he's wrong because I haven't seen this video yet, but I do want to give it a watch. I do want to see what a white boy got cooking in the kitchen, and yeah, we'll see if we'll see what he's got cooking. If most YouTube advice is bad, does that mean this video is bad advice?
I've been doing YouTube for nearly a decade now, and over the course of my career, I've heard all sorts of advice tossed around. Some of this advice dramatically reshaped the way I thought about the YouTube algorithm, but some of it, looking back, was just complete nonsense. And what better way to structure a video with a list of bad, mid, and good things than a tier list? Let's get into it. We're gonna start things off with F tier, and this tier is for the truly terrible advice. Advice so bad that following it will hurt your channel. And there's not gonna be too many things in this tier. Most advice is at least applicable in some niche cases, or at least is at the very worst just a waste of time. But the stuff in this tier is worse than that. It will.
That is true. Like most advice you will be given, at the very worst, it's a net neutral. It's at least some form of content that you're producing, and at the very worst, it just kind of does whatever. But there are some things where it's just like it just nukes your channel.
Mess with your analytics. It will derank your videos in the algorithm. Don't follow the advice here. But to start us off, we have you should delete bad, old, or underperforming videos. So this is disastrously bad advice.
Crazy.
But to fully explain why, let me give you a quick rundown on how the YouTube algorithm works. This will, of course, be massively simplified. But to be honest, the core concept is really not all that complicated. The YouTube algorithm works by comparing viewers' watch histories and looking for patterns. So the most basic pattern would be something like this. Viewer 1 gets on YouTube and gets shown a random selection of videos on their homepage. They watch videos B, D, and G. Viewer 2 gets on YouTube and watches videos B, D, and G. Viewer 3 gets on and watches videos B and D, and then logs off for the night. YouTube is going to put video G onto viewer 3's recommendations front and center the next time they log on, because it noticed the pattern that people who like videos B and D also tend to like video G. There are, of course, hundreds if not thousands of additional variables, but all of those additional complexities layer on top of that core concept, patterns of viewership. YouTube calls this co-watch behavior, and it is the main driving force behind the recommendation algorithm. If you can understand that concept, you can probably follow my rationale for basically every tip in this video. So the reason that deleting old videos is bad for growth is that it also removes that data from your viewers' watch histories, which means there's less of a pattern for YouTube's algorithm to pick up on to use to push your videos to new people. Now, of course, there can be genuinely good reasons for deleting old video. If you, accidentally doxed yourself and included some sensitive information, yeah, probably don't just leave that up for strangers to see for your own safety. But in general, it's a bad idea. And if you really just don't like your old videos and want them gone for reasons of taste, that's okay too, I suppose. You can also just unlist them, which won't remove them from people's watch histories, but that also means that if they want to watch it, they can just go back to their watch history and find it. So it's not a good solution for really sensitive information, but if you just don't want it to show up on your channel, it does work. I'm personally of the opinion that it's a good thing to let audiences go back and see how much you've grown as a creator, but I understand that not everyone can stomach the cringe of their teenage self. But
okay, this is something that I do agree with in terms of like the overall watch history, but at the same time, there are some videos that probably should be taken down. And obviously, like, there are some very easy examples in regards to maybe some videos just, like, don't age well. You know what I mean? Like, you should not delete videos just because they're, like, underperforming or whatever. You should delete videos because they're, like, videos that are more of an active brand risk rather than they are, you know, like, good to have on your channel. You know what I mean? Oh my god, okay. He actually did delete the video, but there was a video where it was like 10 more signs that you suck at competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And one of the jokes in the video was he just had the N-word. He just had the N-word in one of the PowerPoint slides, and I'm like, whoa, that's, you know, it's definitely a pretty dated, weird joke, but you know. But there are definitely like some things where obviously, if you have like some really bad dated jokes, or you have like some really like edgy shit in there that you just do not want associated with your channel whatsoever, like a lot of my videos back then were like really fucking edgy, because I just wanted to be like the fucking edgelord of like YouTube, then yeah, you probably shouldn't have those fucking videos up. Yeah, think of like videos that if you could watch a video and you're like, if I saw this video on someone I liked and they had this sort of joke in there, I would look at them like less of a person in like 99% of instances. Not just like a cringe joke. I'm talking about like a really bad joke. And like, again, like dropping the fucking N-word because you think it's funny. Then yeah, obviously you should probably delete that video. But again, that's just like a very contextual example.
if you're just deleting it because it didn't get the view numbers you wanted, you're making the problem worse, not better. I actually know a few YouTubers who delete low-performing videos to make sponsors think that they hit higher view counts more consistently than they actually do, so they can use that data to negotiate a higher rate. But this is playing with fire, in my opinion. And second in F tier, we have the advice, all engagement is good engagement. I think everyone who thinks about this for more than a second knows it's not true, but still.
All engagement is good engagement. All right, I'm gonna write a twit longer about you being a pedophile. Is that good engagement?
Every so often, I'll see a creator going back and forth bickering with one of their fans, and they'll invoke this as a sort of attempt to reframe the whole interaction as like a gotcha. Like the viewer will be criticizing or insulting some aspect of the creator's video, and the creator will counter, aha, I got you. You see, you thought you were damaging my reputation by insulting me, but actually, you've just given me more engagement, boosting my influence even further. Ha ha ha, joke's on you.
That's not how it works.
This is usually, frankly,
you just look like a dumbass to more
stop
people
from criticizing them. But still, there are some people who earnestly believe this. I've even heard of a few creators who will include 1 or 2 spelling mistakes on purpose in order to generate more engagement in the form of comments that are correcting them, thinking that that is helping their recommendations reach more people. It's just not. I don't know how else to say it, but the people who literally designed the YouTube algorithm have said as much. It doesn't work, don't do it. Now, of course, if a creator posts something that's so bad that the badness of it becomes a spectacle in and of itself, that can override the negative effects of negative engagement. But even in those cases, usually the big winners in that scenario are going to be the commentary channels that farm that misfortune for views. That's honestly the only advice I've heard which I do think actively hurts your channel's ability to rank highly in recommendations. Let's move on to D tier. This tier is for advice which I don't think actively hurts your channel, but can indirectly hurt it by nature of just being a complete waste of time. This is going to be a pretty packed tier because honestly, most of the advice that I hear as a creator falls into this category. First in D tier, we have you should post at specific times or days of the week. For like 99% of YouTubers, this just doesn't matter at all. Now, sure, if most of your audience is American and you post at 3 a.m. Eastern time, or you post during the Super Bowl, or you post during Christmas morning, yeah, the amount of people who are immediately dropping everything to go watch your video is going to be lower. But if a viewer likes your videos, they're going to see it the next time they open YouTube. And in fact, your video already being up and ready to watch when they sit down at their desk for the first time to start their day might actually play in your favor. It might not be good for their productivity, but still. The point is...
Okay, to be fair, this isn't, like, again, incorrect, but I wouldn't say that, like, it's something that indirectly harms your videos. Like, yes, obviously, like, your upload time, for the most part, does not matter. But you should be uploading videos in regards to your audience's analytics. If you go to, like, your YouTube analytics, you will see, like, 7 a.m., like, 12 p.m., 6 p.m., 12 a.m., and, like, you'll see, like, these bars where it's, like, light purple is, like, where your viewers are, like, not very active, and then, like, on, like, certain days of the week, and, like, a little bit more blue or, like, a little bit darker will be, like, they're more active. Like, dark purple is, like, really active. You should be posting relatively in line with your analytics, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to make or break your video, but I am saying that it can, for the most part, only help your video. And giving your viewers a sort of regularity in order to expect videos is somewhat important. Obviously, like, the biggest example I could think of is Casually Explained, where Casually Explained uploads so infrequently that the second he starts posting more frequently, it is like an active notice in regards, like, people actively notice that he starts posting more frequently, or he started posting on, like, more of a schedule where he's, like, now, like, once a month or once every 3 weeks, rather than, like, Lamau videos get there when they get there, because now more people are excited, because more people are going to watch Casually Explained, or, like, more people are going to, like, monitor his channel rather than, like, forget he exists. And again, like, obviously, if you're, like, if most of your viewers are, like, American PST viewers and you upload a video at fucking, like 2 a.m. PST, then obviously you might be sabotaging yourself, like, mildly. But to say that your upload time does not matter in 99% of instances, I would say is, like, relatively incorrect. Like, again, think of, like, if you're a person who likes to listen, if your audience is mainly people who like to listen to podcasts, when do you think you should have your video up? In the middle of, like, the day, in the middle of the workday? No, you should probably have that shit for people's morning drive home or morning drive back. It's worth mentioning that the YouTube algorithm isn't as brain-rotted as is yours. If you post monthly, people who watch your videos every month will still be recommended videos via push notifications. That is true. Can we get a true?
Is in the long run, a video is going to get about the same amount of views that it would have no matter what time it was uploaded. So don't stress about it, unless you make time-sensitive videos. If you're doing a news show, or God forbid, YouTube drama videos, you do have to keep your topics relevant to the current news cycle. And if you make videos about internet trends and fads or new releases in gaming and film, you don't want to miss the boat on those. Although even in those cases, a good video can still work after the fact as a retrospective. But yeah, for most creators, this just isn't something you need to concern yourself with. I used to upload all of my videos at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, because that's when I personally would have been most likely to just be chilling looking for something interesting to click on. But eventually I stopped caring about it and just started uploading whenever a video was ready, and I didn't see any difference in performance at all. Next in D tier, the algorithm will punish you for taking a break. So in general, no. There's no amount of time you can take off that would trigger some sort of massive downranking of your videos in recommendations. If your audience really likes your videos, they're going to keep sharing them with their friends, and probably even go back and watch some old ones. As an example, at the beginning of the year 2020, I had about the same amount of subscribers as my friend Sam from the YouTube channel Sam Onella Academy. Sam proceeded to take a nearly 3-year-long break, all the while massively diffing me on both subs and views. And this isn't me saying there's anything wrong with the algorithm or anything like that. His audience just really likes his videos and likes to go back and rewatch them. And when he finally did come back after those 3 years, all of his new videos did basically just as well as you would have expected had he never taken a break at all. Bill Wirtz made what I think could be reasonably described as the greatest educational YouTube video of all time. And even though he hasn't posted in years, his channel still pulls plenty of views. If he ever posted another history of blank, I think the internet would go bananas. Now, these channels are, of course, outliers. I don't think everyone can expect that level of audience loyalty. But what I'm getting at is that the performance of good old videos is not negatively impacted by the lack of new videos.
Okay, this I would also say is like somewhat incorrect in the sense where if you're a channel, what's it called? If you are a creator trying to make evergreen videos, then yes, obviously this will not matter. If you take breaks and you mainly just make content that you think is generally interesting for most people, like Salmonella Academy, like where it's mainly just random educational topics, then there's no real difference in regards to a video posted about the history of like scandalous popes like in 2016 versus 2019, because nothing really changes. The quality, the things in the video are generally the same. If you are a creator who is ultimately trying to get themselves in his front as many eyes as possible, and you are trying to, what's it called? If you're a creator who's just trying to be an established brand, taking constant breaks and disappearing from public eye is not going to really help you, because guess what? If you're trying to grow your channel, people are going to forget about you, like pretty easily. Especially if you're like a no-name channel, which most people are not going to really whatever. Like, yeah, sure, of course, taking breaks is something that can help. Like, of course, taking breaks is something that's recommended at every point. Like, I've taken breaks from my own channel, and I've recommended like other people take breaks to just like, you know, like put a pause on certain projects just because it's very obviously affecting them. And again, it's not going to affect their views that much, but understand that if you are in a saturated field and your content is not particularly unique, then understand that other people are more than willing to take your place, and other viewers are more than willing to replace you in regards to whatever content niche you are filling. If I'm offline, people aren't going to be like, oh, I'm just going to watch whatever. Like, people are going to be like, oh, I'm going to wait for Stevie. They're just going to go watch Farfa. And if they become way more enamored with Farfa, just because, let's say, Farfa has like a personality that they mesh more with, or whatever, or like or they have like better uptime, or like better hours for them. If I eventually do come back, I'm going to lose a portion of my viewers just because people found a channel that they like in regards to when we're both live at the same time. Now, obviously, you can say this is more of a reflection of your own content, and that if your viewers are able to be snatched away so easily, then maybe that is something that you could be reflected on. Do not look at this later. Do not look at this like a fucking relationship, but you understand what I'm saying. But you should understand that obviously abandoning your channel for extended periods of time, in most cases, is not going to help you overall.
Channels whose videos are highly time sensitive still take breaks from time to time, and they still have an audience when they come back. Now, obviously, you don't want to be too inactive. If you just up and ghost the internet for years at a time, it's not just your audience who's going to notice. YouTube channels are businesses, and like any business, you're going to have competition. If you've left your audience with nothing to watch for years on end, I would expect your competitors to notice, and for them to try and emulate your style in order to capture some of your audience. So take breaks when you need to, don't burn yourself out, but never think that success is guaranteed either. Next in D tier, just do this one weird trick. All right,
okay.
I don't want to stoke drama, so I'm not going to name names, but I do have a bone to pick with, okay, I'm re-recording this bit because after watching it back, I think I started to come off way too heated for no reason. Basically, what I want to communicate is that there's a lot of videos out there that can really just get you barking up the wrong tree if you're not careful, by convincing you that there's a lot of subtle tweaking that you can do to your video's metadata, you know, things like the video tags and the file names and like things you can do with the YouTube Studio Editor that would allegedly massively boost your odds of going viral. And I'm sorry, but I do think that that's all just a complete waste of time.
It is 100% a waste of time. There's like any like minor optimizations will help your video by like 5 or 10%. Absolute best. At best, maybe it will increase viewership by like a tiny bit. But most of the time, it's just fucking so useless. Like, the only thing I think that's relevant is like, I don't know, keep tags out of titles and put them in the description. Like, that's basically the only thing you need to do.
I'm not saying that adds zero value at all, but at the end of the day, if your videos are bad, there's nothing that you're going to be able to do, like metadata manipulation-wise, to get people to like them. And if your videos are excellent, frankly, it would be pretty hard to screw it up. Like, it would be legitimately difficult to get people to stop sharing them. And if your videos are mid, you're much better off spending your time learning how to improve your craft than you are learning all these subtle metadata manipulation tricks. You should always prioritize the
things
your
like 0%.
audience can
Let's
see,
be fucking
not
real.
what YouTube's algorithm can see. Next in D tier, one bad upload can kill your channel. Thankfully, probably not. Again, flip it around. How many times have you, as a viewer, completely written off all of a creator's future work based on one bad video? Probably not too many times, although if you've been around long enough, maybe you can think of one or two. But no, what actually kills channels is a string of uninteresting videos that leads to their audience just not being as excited about their stuff anymore. But yeah.
That's real. That is a big one. It's never ever like one bad video. It's never ever like whatever. It's just videos where people will see and just not really care about. Let's take a oh, Mark's gonna like this one. Let's say that your name is, I don't know, let's say your name is Snacks. Like and you make videos about like different snack reviews. And like one day you start reviewing, like, for some reason everyone really likes like your people really like your Mexican snack reviews. Like, this one does really well. Like, this one does really well. This one does really well. And then you start uploading like other snacks. Like, just snacks that nobody really cares about. Think of like weird Halloween candy, or like weird Halloween candy, or like weird, or you know, like North Korean. Actually, no, that sounds pretty cool. But just think of like very boring snacks, like every flavor of Lay's, or like every spicy chip. Like, people very much seeing other cultural foods, which is why, like, if you post like a North Korean snack video, that'll probably do pretty cool. But if you're just posting content that you can kind of see wherever, or content that just doesn't really have a niche dedicated audience, then people will usually just start drifting away from your channel, because people don't care about those videos. You know what I mean? Like, people just don't care about content that they're not interested in. And if you are a creator who makes a very specific type of content that is designed to lure viewers in with, let's say, overseas snack reviews, but you are creating content that is just generally uninteresting to that population of viewers that you've built already, then congratulations, you're going to lose your viewership. Like, there is such a thing as too much innovation.
Don't stress about singular flops. It's way too much pressure to put on yourself, and literally every YouTuber uploads a stinker every once in a while. And last in B tier, monetization could hurt your YouTube channel. It's crazy. I know a handful of creators who just agonized over the decision to either monetize their videos or do sponsors. They thought their audience would crucify them if they did it, but Patreon wasn't quite making ends meet for them, and so eventually they felt like they had no other choice. And then when they flipped the switch, they got literally 0 negative comments about it. And the same is true for sponsors. In fact, oftentimes I see the exact opposite happen, where they'll suddenly get a lot of comments along the lines of like, yo, our boy finally made it, hype. It's an understood milestone in a creator's career, and I think most audiences understand that. I've even
Yes, monetize your content. You can make money. And let's be real, most people have ad block anyways, so they won't even really notice.
heard of creators faking sponsorships because they feel like it gives them more legitimacy to have them than to not. I wouldn't do that. Faking sponsors is also D-tier advice, but so is completely writing them off as selling out. That's it for D-tier. All the rest of the stuff on this list is at least somewhat applicable and definitely won't hurt your channel. In C-tier, we have advice that is potentially useful, but isn't universally applicable. And first in C-tier, this is going to be a controversial one. Collabs are a good way to grow your channel. This is interesting because YouTube Creator Studio actually tells you that this is a good idea. I did a ton of collabs in the early years of my YouTube career, and to be honest, I don't think a single one moved the needle at all. Now, I'm not saying they can't work. They can make for fun and entertaining videos. But for growing an audience, 1, they're not that great. And 2, you want to build your own audience, not leech from someone else's. That second point isn't some moral judgment or anything. I'm not saying you're not going to have any overlap with other channels' audiences. Of course you will. But I've seen it several times where a creator will do a collaboration, and it'll do well, and they'll get a ton of new subscribers and views, and they'll get all excited and celebrate. But when they upload their next video, it doesn't hit, and they might even lose subscribers.
Okay, this is only kind of true. In regards to live streaming, that's just like objectively false. I don't think I need to explain that if you collab with fucking Mr. Beast on like Twitch or whatever, or you collab with like iShowSpeed, obviously people are going to show up in regards to being like, oh my god, it's Mr. Beast content or whatever content. But in regards to YouTube, this is like partially true. One of my friends, Rarin, if you look at some of his most popular videos, most of them are like react to thing, react to YouTuber, collaboration video. Oh, actually not this one. Collaboration video. Hey, look, that's me. Collaboration video. This sort of thing can be sort of a scarlet letter around like your, or like a sword of Damocles around your channel, where as soon as you start uploading videos that are not collabs, because your channel's audience is now built upon either expecting collabs or is built around the audience of another creator. Think of like if he only uploaded like Rainad collabs and all of a sudden he decides to like post like a legend, like a free-to-play legend challenge. Realistically, those videos are just going to do worse because your channel is no longer featuring X creator. You know what I mean? Based on my data, it's like a 300% boost to your normal growth after a collab. Yeah, like you should just be, if you have the opportunity for a collab, take it as many times as possible. Assuming that the people you're collabing with are bigger or can meaningfully contribute to your channel. Like, obviously, one of the biggest things I hate about collabs is people who, like, collab with people just nobody care about. Or, even worse, collabing with their real-life friends. And, like, the context of, if a person is shit on camera, or isn't very funny, or doesn't have, like, any public speaking potential, and you're like, oh, but, like, yeah, you know, just, like, let's just hang out and call, and, you know, let's just play, like, League of Legends duo queue together. Like, that's gonna go fucking horribly. Like, one of my friends, Gavin, like, he's a good friend, but I would never fucking collab with him in the context of, like, playing League, bro, because holy shit, this guy's gonna drop the N-word at, like, 2 minutes after support misses, like, the Nautilus hook. I think a better way to phrase it, your collab should be impactful. If you have someone on a 5-minute, this YouTuber here explains it, you're not going to get a lot of crossover viewership for that. And the other viewership is going to get a lot of, and the other YouTuber is going to get a lot of your viewership. Yes, like, of course, the collab should be built around the channel and a shared idea and a proper topic or something like that. But, again, collabs only go sour if, A, it's just kind of poorly planned out, or B, just not a lot, just like nothing really happens, or, you know, just like 500 other things. You know what I mean? But it is not enough to just say collabs are bad because leeching audience bad. Now, in regards to leeching audiences, that is a completely different story. If your channel is completely unable to sustain itself without the help of other people, then you have a more fundamental issue. Fun fact, if you guys remember old Yu-Gi-Oh, like old Yu-Gi-Oh Twitch stream, like pre-COVID, Distant Coder was like the #1 Farfa leech. This guy was, without a single doubt, the #1 Farfa leech. He would wait for Farfa to go offline. He would beg him for like a raid. He would literally pay money to Farfa to be like, please review my stream VODs and like tell me what I'm doing wrong. And Farfa would be like, I don't know, I'm just racist on stream half the time. It was just, I could not ask for a bigger waste of money than asking Farfa for fucking viewership. But you know what I mean, in the sense where obviously if you're like, I'm going to leech off of K-Droll, or I'm gonna leech off of Ido for Deadlock, or I'm gonna leech off of like Fifi for like being an NSFW VTuber, then obviously all you're going to ever amount to is being like Ido light or Fifi light or whoever light. You will never have your own real audience, and the second anyone who's equally as entertaining and unique, or the original streamer you're trying to emulate, comes on, your audience will die. Your audience will just fundamentally die. It'll happen every time.
And the reason is because those subs weren't made in earnest. They were subbed as a show of support for a different creator and for you as their friend, but not because they actually connected with your content. And that can be really demoralizing. You may have noticed that collabs in general are just not all that common these days on YouTube. And I think this is the reason. They're just not all that effective in the long run. Now, there are other creators who I think do it well, but I think the reason they make it work is that they do cameos or games where it makes sense to involve other creators. My friend Magic the Noah does this amazingly well with his game shows, but even then, after being in multiple videos, I don't think I've ever noticed a spike in subscribers or views. So do the collabs that make sense, but definitely don't force it, and especially don't chase down other YouTubers asking to collab. Because
all I'm saying is I remember when Magic the Noah uploaded Magic the Gathering videos. I would watch that guy on my shower when he was at like 5,000 subscribers, and I was just like, this is it. This is Magic content that I could watch. And then he started uploading game shows, and I'm like, oh, fuck, bro. Glad a brother made it, though.
because it's not even worth it. Next in C tier, censor your speech using euphemistic slang. Look, I'll be honest, I really wanted to put this one in F tier. I find it immensely disrespectful when people use such corny language to discuss serious topics. But I will admit that this is a matter of personal opinion,
but your
and that at this
father was
point, clearly that type of thing
unalived by a
has become
pew.
pretty firmly ingrained in the online vernacular. I watched a pretty interesting series of videos by a channel called Etymology Nerd, who makes a pretty good case that these words do serve a social function beyond just dodging a platform's censor bots. I don't know, I'm not an ethics philosopher, so I will leave it up to y'all to decide what is and is not appropriate for serious online discussions. But what I do know is that these supposed censor bots do not exist. There are no guidelines saying that you cannot use terms like kill, sex, and yeah, even rape and pedophile in your videos. Now, sure, if you're using those words in a graphic context, that's one thing. But if the context is there, if your video is about those subjects, removing the word doesn't suddenly make your video family friendly. A true crime podcast about vicious, evil murderers is still a true crime podcast about vicious, evil murderers, even if you say unalive instead of killed. So either talk about it or don't. Next in C tier.
Okay, there is like some very minor stuff in regards to like specifically this. There is some very minor stuff in regards to that. In the context of you should not, if you can avoid using those words, you probably should, just because there is like a 1% chance that your video can get sent to like be allowed to be approved on like YouTube Kids, for example, or like they could be dedicated towards more like child audiences. Like obviously like YouTube is not going to recommend like a true crime podcast like a 13-year-old girl, but you know, if you're posting like Yu-Gi-Oh videos, if the algorithm notices that you like use like a lot of slurs or like a lot of like gamer words or a lot of like foul language, then it's going to be much more likely to recommend someone who doesn't do that to like someone who does, because you know, just audience overlap and all that jazz.
Premieres help your channel grow. Premieres are fine. They can be a cool way to build hype and even result in a bit of bonus revenue from super chats, but do they help you grow? Probably not in a significant way. In fact, some people, myself included, find them to be a bit obnoxious. It's a bit
premieres are just like so whatever.
Looking for something to watch.
Nothing about premieres matters.
From your favorite creator, and it's for a premiere that's in 24 hours. Cool. I'd rather you just have told me tomorrow. And if you're late to a premiere, you gotta either wait for it to end or awkwardly try to rewind it. Meanwhile, chat is talking about a totally different part of the video and spoiling stuff. And yeah, premieres are fine, messy, but fun. Next in C tier, you should engage with your audience by doing update videos, Q&A videos, and milestone videos. So on my main channel, TierZoo, I decided very early on that I was going to never do these. So when I was first starting out, I created a list of rules for myself to keep me on track for growth and keep me out of trouble. And the number one rule on that list was to only ever upload exactly the sort of video that I thought my audience had subscribed for. My channel was about looking at the natural world through the lens of gaming, and nothing else. My assumption was my audience did not care who I am. And I do think this rule served me well. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but for a while I was the fastest growing educational channel of all time, and reached 1 million subscribers after only about 18 months. But of course, I have no control data to compare against, and I know plenty of other channels that have done just fine uploading that style of video alongside their main content. I think it makes more sense to flip it again to the viewer perspective and ask if your favorite channel, or actually let's say not your favorite channel, if a channel that you like but perhaps isn't even in your top 5 uploaded a Q&A video, would you watch that? But I guess this also goes back to one of the earlier points on this list, which is that one bad upload isn't going to sink your channel either.
Again, like, it's not a video. It's not like it's gonna hurt your video. It's not like it's gonna hurt your channel, but at the same time, it's not gonna like benefit your channel. Like, the only people who will watch that video or like a Q&A or update video are super fans, and sometimes either having like a video for super fans is quite useful. But if you're like worried about min-maxing it for your YouTube channel, and you know, like, you just don't want to give your audience an upload that they didn't really sign up for, then just like make a Patreon and upload videos like that there, or just have a second channel and upload videos like that there. Like Zero2, for example, is a really good example of just having a separate channel for ideas and topics that you know your original audience is not really there for.
Performance of my first video on this channel certainly proved to me that there can be a ton of value in doing these more personal videos, as I've been able to since connect with more of my audience and fellow creators than ever before. There's clearly merit to both approaches, and I look forward to learning more about how to best make this genre of content. So subscribe if that's something you're interested in. And last in C tier, basically everything you've ever heard about fair use. I wish I had the time and the expertise to try and properly debunk all the misinformation about fair use, but for now I will just say go watch the Tom Scott copyright video. It's crazy though, in my behind the scenes video I got a lot of comments saying, why on earth would you pay for stock footage when fair use exists? Look, I do wish some of them charged a bit less, but ultimately I do want an incentive to exist for nature videographers to go shoot interesting videos for me to buy. If it were legal that I could just rip their videos and run it through a watermark remover, that would be cool for a short time, but eventually these nature videographers would just find better uses for their time and film experience. I want to have a good relationship with nature photographers. I want them to be excited to show me the latest cool shots that they got, not just hide behind some flimsy legal defense while I benefit from their work for free. As with most things, the answer to the question of why does this cost so much is because it's worth it. Maybe not to you, but to someone. All right, first in B tier now. Interested is...
I pay for stock footage? There's some, like, objectively, you should pay for, what's it called, stock footage. Not only because it is technically a legal liability that is going to hold over your head, and just because, like, you know, your 100 video that stole, like, an Adobe, like, stock, like, sound effect or Adobe stock footage, like, isn't going to send you to super jail, but it's also... It's not like Adobe doesn't care, and like they don't care, like, really. But if they ever do decide to care, you're putting yourself in a lot of legal hot water, as well as the fact that, you know, at the end of the day, like, these photographers and filmographers, if they just realize that everyone's stealing their content and they have no real incentive to make it anymore, they're just not gonna make it. And like, congratulations, we've like killed the job industry, or like in a sense.
Interesting. So this is a common adage I've heard tossed around in YouTuber circles a lot. I believe it was first popularized by Casey Neistat, but I'm not 100% sure. So while it is true to an extent, I learned the hard way that if you make things too niche, too high concept, people will bounce off of it. Still, passion is by far one of the most important things to showcase in your videos. YouTube is pretty great at showing people videos relevant to their interests. And if you, among all the YouTubers for a given topic, seem like the most passionate of the bunch, you'll be in a pretty good position. And the reverse is also true. If people can tell that you're not all that excited about the thing that you're talking about, they're not going to be excited about it either. Next in B tier, shorts will help your channel grow. So strictly from the perspective of increasing the number of views and subscribers on your YouTube channel, yes, this absolutely will work. In fact, the numbers can be truly staggering, but what can also be staggering is how difficult it can be to convert those shorts viewers into long-form viewers.
That's because they are two different platforms!
This is my friend Juliet. She runs a channel called Girl Who Eats Art. It's a shorts-only channel about showcasing edible mosaic artwork.
Wow, I made a shorts-only channel. I wonder how the long form will do. Spoilers, it's gonna do dog shit! Obviously, if you post a sort of footage, what's it called? The difference is that if the videos you're making out of your shorts are solo isolated videos, then yes, of course your long forms are not going to do well, because the solo isolated videos are videos unto themselves onto a shorts based platform. Now, obviously, if your short form videos, I don't know, connect to your other platforms or have a direct correlation in regards to your long form videos, if I have a channel that all I do is post minute sized, like, why was this serial killer killed, and it just like does it all like immediately in one little thing, then obviously there is not going to be much overlap than if I put like a video documenting like my documentation process for like how I find each serial killer case or whatever. Because even though there's overlap, there's no direct correlation between my shorts and my whatever, because they're two completely different videos. Now, obviously, if I post a video where it's like, if I'm like dual logs and I make a video where it's like top 10 cards that were banned ever, and I make like an honorable mentions list of 11, 12, and 13, and I'm like, well, if you want to see the rest of if you want to see the official top 10, then go click on this video, or like I have it lead back into it. Or if I want to post like stream highlight shorts and have that redirect to my Twitch channel, then yes, obviously there will be a lot more carryover. But this is like, but using his friend's channel in regards to using only isolated videos that have no real carryover or no direct link in order to correlate with like her long form videos, then yeah, of course. My shorts are topics that are too short for dedicated videos, so there's no direct connection. Okay, but you also just post long form content, so that's, you know, completely different.
Videos have a combined 1.5 billion views, and her channel has 1.5 million subscribers. For reference, that is over 3 times as many views as I have across all of my channels, and she's only been doing it for a year and a half. Juliet just uploaded her first long-form video, an 8-minute long video of her touring an art museum and interviewing people. Before I tell you, how many views would you guess that video got? 10,000? 100,000? A million?
10,000. 1,000.
431.
Wow.
Less than 0.1% of her subscriber count. So what's going on? Why did her video get so few views? Well, I actually think the answer is pretty simple. While most long-form viewers do watch a few shorts here and there, most short-form viewers never even open the YouTube homepage where long-form videos are shown. I've seen some viral posts going around saying that YouTube Shorts should have just been a separate app. And if you ask me, it basically is. So if the last thing you watched on the YouTube app was a short, the next time you open YouTube on your phone, it'll open directly to the Shorts feed, so you never have to see anything else. Now, if you ask me, it is a bit ridiculous that Shorts are also shown on the YouTube homepage, especially with these tall thumbnails that take up double the real estate and crowd out long-form stuff. But in fairness, on the Smart TV app, which is frankly where long-form creators most prefer their videos to be watched anyway, Shorts usually don't show up there. Anyway, the point is, you can pull insane numbers on your Shorts, hundreds of millions of views, but still struggle to pull even a tiny fraction of a percent of those viewers over to your long-form videos. You really do have to treat them like a separate audience.
Because it is a separate audience. The reason mine are different is because the reason mine are different is because mine is the same kind of content as my longs, just in a short. Yes, obviously, you will have different audiences. Like, obviously, you will have an audience that likes to watch dual log style videos, but doesn't want to watch like a 20-minute video, versus people who do want some sort of 20-minute video background noise. Like, there are two separate audiences, and understanding that is very, very important. And obviously, if you don't do your best to try and bridge the gap between your short form and long form audiences, then of course you're gonna have fucking issues in regards to like overall long video conversion.
Still, if the content of your shorts specifically references long-form content that people watching that short might also like, you can see excellent growth across your entire channel via shorts. This is something that I myself am far from mastering, but my friends over at Extra History have been crushing it with this strategy. So yeah, shorts are powerful for growth, but they're easy to overestimate and tough to convert into the audience you actually want. On a similar point, my next piece of advice in B tier is to ask your audience to subscribe during your videos. So there's really no reason not to do this. I do it, all the best creators do it, and we do it because it works. It makes the number go up, and we really like it when the...
Yes. Always, like, this is probably like the first advice that I think has actively like worked out, that I've seen like immediate growth from. But it's like telling people to subscribe, or telling people to follow, or telling people to whatever. Like, people will just naturally forget or not do it. And if you don't tell them, like, half the time, they will just forget or just like not do it. You have to remember to prime your audience to do a thing. It cannot be a suggestion. It can't just be like, if you like, please consider subscribing or whatever. You have to tell them, like, hey, subscribe for after watching this video. I hope you'll appreciate it, or something. You have to tell them to do it. Otherwise they will forget, and you're leaving like money on the table, in quotations.
Number goes up. The reason I include it now here is because I think it's time to drop the biggest truth nuke of the video, which is that subscribers don't matter very much. I wish they did. A YouTuber's subscriber count is often their biggest point of pride, and it certainly is for me. Hitting a million subscribers was one of the biggest milestones of my life. But if you're going to ask your audience to do something, you know what's better than asking them to click the I'd like to see more of this in the future button? Getting them to watch more of your videos right away. In the same amount of time that it takes to ask your audience to click the red button and tap the bell, you could just suggest another video to them that they might be interested in. Spending more time on your channel right away is a lot stronger of a positive signal to the algorithm than just tapping a button. Subscribers are great, don't get me wrong, but it's easy to over-prioritize growing that number rather than growing your channel's actual reach. Next in B tier, focus on making sure your click-through rate is as high as possible. This is another number that creators often over-prioritize, and it can be even more misleading. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a fellow creator complaining on Twitter that they must be shadow banned, because with the CTR as high as theirs, surely YouTube should be pushing their video to the masses. The problem is, while yes, CTR does scale directly with how interesting a video's title and thumbnail are, it scales inversely with how many impressions a video is getting. CTR is always going to start high and decline as your video spreads. So if you're looking at your analytics and thinking, I don't get it, my CTR is crazy high, YouTube says this one's clearly a banger, so why is it not being shown to the masses? Unfortunately, that's kind of similar to saying, like, I've gone on so many first dates, clearly I'm hot stuff. So paying attention to CTR used to be more important for creators, because you could take a dead video and then change up the thumbnail, and then look at the real-time CTR data that YouTube would give you, and you could look for a change. If the change swung positive, that was a good thing. That was a really good signal. Now, though, you could just use YouTube's A/B testing feature to do the same thing, so there's not really a ton of reason to pay super close attention to CTR. Now, looking at your real-time CTR can be useful for title changes, because right...
All three of them. You did it!
Now,
we don't talk about how those dates ended up.
Thumbnails, but there is a title A/B testing feature in beta, so you'll get it eventually.
The title, thumbnail, A/B testing is broken.
This is a strategy I hadn't even heard of until recently, but apparently a lot of really successful creators do it. So the basic idea is pretty simple. Kind of like what I was saying before, subscribers don't necessarily mean that much anymore. Just because someone is subscribed doesn't mean they're for sure going to get a notification for your next video. So instead of relying on YouTube to push your video out, you could just ask your most loyal fans to join a mailing list so that you have total control over that connection to your audience. And this does work. Data shows that the industry average for opening these emails is about 20%, which is like 10 times higher than the average rate that YouTube viewers click on push notifications. So it is a pretty reliable way to reach your audience. The really clever YouTubers will send out not just their own videos, but a whole curated list of the best videos that they've seen over the past few days or weeks. That way, their video becomes part of a pretty concrete pattern of co-watching, and anyone who organically encounters one of the other videos in their newsletter will have a much higher chance of seeing their video next. So pretty clever stuff. The only drawback is, believe it or not, sending a bunch of emails can get pretty expensive pretty quickly, like potentially several $1,000s a year. So definitely useful, but not something to worry about unless you're already an established creator. All right, we're leaving the mid-tier now. So look, I'm not trying to be a YouTube guru or anything like that. I'm not going to promise that these tips...
The newsletter thing is actually really surprising. Like, that is... Like, I always thought, like, when ZGP Gray did his newsletter, I always thought it was like he's just doing that so that people can, like, get notifications in regards to his uploads. Because, you know, it's not... Sometimes YouTube doesn't always send, like, push notifications in regards to creator you watches new upload. But, like, having it be, like, part of co-watching, that's pretty fucking insane.
Are, like, guaranteed to grow your channel and propel your career to new heights and make you rich and famous overnight. But I do think everything from here on out is genuinely great advice that I would give to anyone in the industry, both new and old creators alike. First, in A tier, you should use the A/B thumbnail testing feature. So this just works, pure and simple. If you're not A/B testing your thumbnails, you're almost certainly leaving views on the table. Now, it is a lot of extra work to create 3 thumbnails instead of just 1, but I've seen some truly explosive growth on old videos after successfully finding a new winning thumbnail. I'm talking like doubling or tripling the amount of views on the video. There's also a title A/B testing feature in beta right now, which opens up even more possibilities. I don't have a ton more to say about this one. It just genuinely is a really powerful tool.
It's broken as fuck.
You should translate your videos into multiple languages. So pretty much every creator that does this that I've talked to has said that it basically doubled their revenue for very little.
Okay, you should do this. Note that it can get kind of expensive.
little extra effort. Translated subtitles are good, but if possible, what you really want to do is find someone who can provide a translated audio track too. The multi-language audio track feature is really powerful and auto-plays the appropriate language based on viewer's location, if the translation exists. I really wanted to make this work for Tearzu, but because my videos are so jargon-heavy, unless I find someone who specifically knows like the ins and outs of gamer culture in that language, the translations just don't capture the same gaming connotations that they do in English. So yeah, it's tough. And finding someone who can do that is difficult. People like that are hard to find and expensive, but if you'd like to see Tearzu brought to your local language, pledging to my Patreon would help me get that off the ground. All right, and finally, S-tier advice. So for advice in the highest tier, I decided to go with more nebulous, vibes-based sorts of things, because at the end of the day, I really do believe that having the right mindset and having the right creative ambition will really always trump any sort of back-end optimizations or analytics tricks. First in S tier, we have the 80% rule. This is advice that Hank Green posted to YouTube around the time that I was just starting my career here, and I never forgot it. The idea is simple.
80%. Everything creative I do my best to get it 80% of the way to as good as I can make it and go no further. I just don't try to get it to 100%.
Now, of course, I've heard tons of similar proverbs to this, you know, like, don't let perfect be the enemy of good, done is better than perfect, that sort of thing. But I don't know, something about the way that Hank puts it, plus his track record with starting and finishing a huge variety of massively successful projects, made this one stick differently. I'm sure there's plenty of fields that this sort of advice can apply to, but I think us YouTubers really need to hear it more than most, because we really like to stress a lot about the finer details of things and tend to have a pretty well-defined picture of what we want a video to end up looking like. And I think for YouTubers like myself, who upload somewhat infrequently and spend a lot of time per video, the biggest risk is not that we make a bad video, the biggest risk is that we don't make a video at all. We either spend way too long polishing something that's already perfectly fine, or we get halfway through a project and realize it's not quite turning out the way we liked it, and so we just start over.
That's super duper true. I was talking about this with like my friend. Like she was stressing out super duper hard about like, oh, I'm planning like a re-debut soon, and like I need to like get all these assets done and have all these assets be perfect. But it's kind of like you can always theoretically justify spending more time or effort on something, and it can very easily like consume you. Like if you're making like mac and cheese, you can start off extremely easily with like Kraft mac and cheese, like boil in the box. And then you could be like, oh, you could add like some butter to like have it emulsify better, or you could like replace the shitty pasta with like store-bought pasta, or you could replace the cheese packet with like a shredded pre-shredded cheese. Oh, but you could also replace the store-bought pasta with like bronze die-cut pasta, or you could use like more expensive butter in order to like create a more rich emulsion, or you could replace the pre-shredded cheese with like hand-shredded fresh cheese, and then like you could also replace the bronze-cut pasta with like pasta they get from Italy. I was like, oh, you could also replace the butter with butter they get from like New Zealand that's like $10,000 like for 10 pounds, or you could also get like the 36-month aged like Parmesan that you get at the store. That's like $80 a pound or whatever. And then you just keep going down like the super duper spiral. And at a certain point, like at what point does enough become enough? Like at what point does the self-refining process just kind of be extremely redundant? And again, if you're worried about like, oh, but like what if people are going to say shitty things about whatever, there are always going to be people like saying shitty things about your content. Like there's this quote from like Dante's where he's like 20% of people will always love what you do no matter what, and 20% of people will always hate everything you do no matter what you do. And your goal is not to convince the 20% of the people that hate your content to like your content. Your goal is to communicate with the 60% of people who are on the fence, who are not really sure how to feel about your content. And if you're able to convince them that your good enough content, or the content that you make is good and will appeal to them, they will naturally come towards your side. And again, like you do not need to make the world's most expensive like macaroni and cheese in order to get like the 20% to your side, because they're gonna spit it out no matter what you do. You just have to make a pasta that's gonna appeal to the mass majority of people, and they're gonna like your stuff.
Tough, because one of the pieces of advice that I see passed around a lot in creative circles is just make it exist first. You can make it good later. But on YouTube, once you publish a video, it's out there. You can't change it. You just have to let it ride, mistakes and all. And even with that being said, the 80% rule is great advice. And the last advice on this tier list, the algorithm is the audience. Basically the idea that every time you would normally use the word algorithm, swap in audience. So instead of the algorithm likes this thumbnail more than that one, you think the audience likes this thumbnail more than that one. And instead of thinking the algorithm isn't pushing this video, you think the audience isn't pushing this video. This is advice that Todd Dupre, head of search and discovery at YouTube, aka the guy that leads the team that manages and designs the YouTube algorithm, says every chance that he gets. I've kind of been trying to condition you guys to think this way over the course of this video by frequently asking you to re-examine all the pieces of advice through the lens of an audience member rather than the perspective of a creator. The things that matter to the algorithm are the things that matter to the audience. And if something doesn't matter to the audience, it's probably not worth fussing about for the algorithm's sake either. Personally, the things that determine whether or not I want to click on a video are, does it look interesting? Is it by a creator who I really like? Does it look like it's about something that I've already watched another video about? Do I have time to watch something that's that length? If the thumbnail looks like a still frame from a video, do I want to see the rest of that video? And that sort of thing. There have been a lot of videos on YouTube lately from YouTubers complaining about low views and speculating about possible algorithm changes that are affecting them. And in fairness, the video that I posted a few weeks ago was also about challenges that I was facing as a creator. But I hope the takeaway from that video was that I don't believe that there's any nefarious YouTube suppression going on, but that the audience is just changing. And yes, I did hear also about the potential ad block shenanigans, and those sorts of things do happen from time to time. But as a creator, the advice that I would give is that you still have to just prioritize focusing on the things that you can control.
That's true. Like, the number one best thing you could do for yourself is just create content that your audience knows you for. There's like a casually explained bit where he's like, when you run up against a wall with your content creation, there's like two things you could do. You can try to win your audience back by creating the high quality content that drew them in the first place, or you could go into a podcast about having a sex scandal. And it always will be like option A, where it's like the number one best thing you could do for your audience is to create content that your audience seems to like. Like if you're a creator, let's say you're a reaction, let's say you're a guy who makes like reaction videos. You do a bunch of reactions for like a bunch of cartoons, and for whatever reason, like The Amazing Digital Circus really sticks out. Like you get like 100,000 views, even if it's not trending. No matter what, it's always popping off. Everything you react to, like digital circus. Does that mean if you post now, what should you do? Should you keep posting about the digital circus, or should you keep posting high quality? Does that mean you should change to like murder bots or like Has Been Hotel or whatever? No, you should probably just keep watching The Amazing Digital Circus until it becomes pretty apparent that your audience doesn't like it anymore, or that audience is gone, and then you can start experimenting again. And you just go blah 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 blah. Oh, we found a new thing, and then you just milk that train. That is like how it will always be for the most part. Obviously, this is like a little derivative. And like a very oversimplified example, but obviously making video and a video asset and thumbnails that your audience likes is always going to be the best thing for your content. It will never be random algorithm change. It will never be like random metadata changes. It will never be like, oh, what if I just like do this specific like pattern of speech, or like saying no words or whatever. No, the best thing you can do is just make content that an audience likes, and once you find that audience, you can either decide to run with that audience or find a new one. And if you are going to run with that audience, make sure you make the same content that audience likes until the fucking wheels fall off.
Viewers want is a moving target, and sometimes strategies and formats that used to crush it suddenly don't work as well anymore. I apologize if the S tier section came off as a bit disappointing. I get that just make good videos doesn't really feel actionable. And again, I'm not trying to be a YouTube guru or anything like that. I'm just sharing my opinion as a creator. I hope this video helps you avoid red herring advice and helps you focus on what really matters. And that's the tier list. I'm really curious how this video does, because I have no idea if people actually want to just hear me ramble about things, or if the success of the first video was an anomaly. I know I kind of baited people into thinking I was maybe about to retire with a title and thumbnail like that, and I know that's not a move I can pull twice, so I'd be surprised if a video like this does anywhere near as well. I promise the next video on this channel will not be about the YouTube meta. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if you'd like to help me fund an indie game dev studio, consider pledging to my Patreon, because we've got some cool things.
Alright, that was a pretty decent video. I will say, the start started off a little shaky. It was a little rough. But overall, I think like the good advice was really good advice. I'd say like once we got past the short stuff, it was like all pretty agreeable stuff. But yeah, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this overall. Do you think that some of this advice is going to be good for your content? Do you think some of this advice is going to be bad in regards to your content? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And let me know what you guys end up applying to your own channel or try experimenting with. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next life.